Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, May 7th regular council meeting, and we're beginning right at 6:01 p.m. This council and the previous council have worked very hard to improve the relations with Siksika Nation, who are our friends and neighbors. And so as part of that, we have a traditional land acknowledgement we do at the first meeting of every month. We honor all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. We acknowledge that the ancestral and traditional lands on which we gather are land of the Blackfoot Confederacy and Treaty 7 territory, a traditional meeting ground for many Indigenous peoples, and in particular our neighbors, Siksika Nation, on whose traditional territory we work, live, and play, and on whose traditional territory we stand and where Strathmore resides. At this time, I'd like to confirm the agenda. Do any councillors have any emergent items for tonight's agenda that they would like to see added? Is there anything from Ledge Services or Administration?
Thank you, Worshiping Council. Administration is going to be requesting that Council delete item 7.2, Economic Development, Advice from Officials, FOIP Section 24.1A from the agenda. Add Council CAO Dialogue, Advice from Officials, FOIP Section 24.1BI to come before delegations, thus creating a new closed meeting section, and add the Strathmore Bird Sanctuary Initiative to the delegation section. Also, we're requesting the Council move public comments to come after the delegations portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Jonathan. Councillor Wiley?
I'm ready with the motion. I move that Council adopt the May 7th, 2025 regular Council meeting agenda as amended to include to delete 7.2 and add Council CAO Dialogue to come before delegations and to add the Strathmore Bird Sanctuary Initiative, which will mean we move public comments to come after delegations.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. We move now to tonight's public hearing, and it is item 3.1, Proposed West Creek Area Structure Plan Amendment Bylaw number 25-07 Public Hearing Report. The public hearing for bylaw number 25-07 is in session at 6:05 p.m. This public hearing is held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M-26 and amendments thereto. Legislative Services.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. The purpose of the public hearing is to discuss bylaw 2507. The proposed bylaw will amend the existing West Creek Area Structure Plan bylaw number 0822. The public hearing is specific to the proposed amendment in bylaw number 2507 and not to other developments within the town of Strathmore. First reading of the bylaw was given during the April 2nd, 2025 regular council meeting. The public hearing was advertised in the following ways. On April 4th, 2025, notice of the public hearing was posted on the town of Strathmore website. April 4th, 2025, notice was mailed out to adjacent homeowners via Canada Post. April 23rd, 30th, and May 7th, 2025, notice of the public hearing was posted in the Strathmore Times. April 30th and May 7th, 2025, notice of the public hearing was posted to the town of Strathmore Facebook page. And notice of the public hearing was included in the May 2025 utility newsletter. Written submissions were received from Doug and Sandra Slatnick, Gary Moore, Lee and Joy Travis.
Jonathan, there's a couple of people in the audience hoping you can speak a little closer to the microphone.
My apologies. Written submissions were received from, okay, perfect. Doug and Sandra Slatnick, Gary Moore, Lee and Joy Travis, Linda and Wally Freeman, Brent Robinson and Catherine Zagorski, Darren and Shannon Kennett, Marianne Pinchbeck, Ruth Byrne and Alan Kostrowski, Carolyn McIsaac, Carly McIsaac, Chris McIsaac, Troy Rederberg, and Dr. Andrea Holoka and Christ the Redeemer Catholic Schools. These submissions were all included in the May 7th, 2025 agenda for the public hearing that was publicly released on Friday, May 2nd, 2025.
Thank you, Jonathan. Pursuant to the town's council procedure bylaw, the following rules of order shall be followed during the public hearing to ensure procedural fairness. No person shall address council without the permission of the mayor. No person shall speak more than once or for more than 5 minutes, exclusive of the time required to answer questions from council. All discussion must be related to the proposed amendments contained in bylaw number 25-07. No other matters can be discussed at this time. Respect for staff, council, and our public shall always be maintained, and any person who wishes to address council, we ask that you please state and spell your name as you come to the microphone. A reminder that this is the public's time to provide feedback to council relating to this bylaw amendment. Council is not required to answer questions called out from a gallery, and council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes, and there will be no debating the bylaw. So our first speaker, would administration like to present? And Kate Backham, can you come to the microphone? Good evening and welcome, Kate. That's okay.
Good evening. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present a bylaw 2507, which proposes an amendment to the West Creek Area Structure Plan. The amendment has been submitted by West Strathmore Developments and applies to approximately 51.84 hectares or 127.19 acres of land, legally described as Lot 1, Block A, Plan 9410061, and 425-2415 northeast, west of the 4th meridian, and 425-2415 northwest, west of the 4th meridian. The proposed amendment was circulated with the providers and referral agencies, and no objections or concerns were received. In addition, public engagement was conducted through an open house hosted by the developer. And letters and responses from residents were submitted for consideration at the public hearing. The West Creek Area Structure Plan originally, sorry, I need a second one. The West Creek Area Structure Plan, originally adopted as bylaw 08-22 in August 18, 2010. The land use bylaw amendment for 3 phases were adopted between 2010 and 2014. The current land use bylaw map is shown on the right-hand side of the slide. Here you can see a comparison between the current area structure plan adopted in August 2010 and the proposed future land use concept from the West Creek Area Structure Plan amendment. The minor amendment seeks to update the existing land use concept to reflect the developer's revised vision for the area. This includes adjustments to land use designation and reserve dedications. These updates are intended to ensure alignment with the current development and market needs. The amendments to the area structure plan are minor and intend on modernizing the 2210 plan to the current day. Some of the main components of the amendment include updated land use statistic reflecting revised parcel size and densities. Updated density summary shows that the total number of units and the overall residential density, minor population and density numbers are proposed to change. The updated reserve dedication map includes a revised landscaping area and 2 additional parcels on the westlands adjacent to highway number 817, designated for an engineered stormwater pond and potential land for public services. The updated municipal reserve analysis includes minor changes in Note 2. I would also like to highlight that according to the adopted 2010 area structure plan, the developer is expected to donate the eastern lands, marked in green on the map, to the town. The area south of Grace Park would be in the town's name, and this donation would include wetlands and approximately 2,116 meters of shoreline. The area of land totals 26.6 hectares that would become town-owned. The town would appreciate receiving this land at the earliest opportunity. There is a wetland on the western lands, and the developer will be following all provincial and federal legislations around wetlands and wildlife. Also, we updated the transportation map, water system map, sanitary sewer map, storm sewer system map, and phasing map. All of these maps were updated in accordance with their submitted proposals. The developer wants to move forward and update their 2010 plan. From a planning perspective, the amendment process minor changes to the current West Creek area structure plan, which has been sitting inactive since 2010. The developer wishes to modernize aspects of the area structure plan and ensure that future development remains coordinated and serviceable to modern standards. The area structure plan proposes multiple housing options and a new layout for the community. In conclusion, administration recommends that Council proceed with the public hearing for bylaw number 2507 today and take into consideration all information received at the public hearing. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Kate. We'll now go to questions from council to the administration. I have a question for our CAO. Just so the public knows, we all received the information from landowners and residents in the area, so I've read through all of them. I'm sure council has as well. But I'm just turning to our CAO now for one of the concerns that was brought forward. One of the concerns we received was about the flooding near Wheeler last summer. Could you comment, CAO Scoble, on how serious a storm that was and what steps are being done by the town to alleviate stormwater flooding in this area, and when can that be expected?
So based on the meteorological data from the Calgary Airport, there's not an Environment Canada site in Strathmore, but at the Calgary Airport, it was a 1 in 100 year storm, exacerbated by the hail, of course, which restricts the water flows. Sorry, your second question was?
My second question was, what steps are being done by the town to alleviate the concerns over stormwater flooding? I know there's a worry that it could be tied into the storm pond of the West Creek development.
So every few years, municipalities, they have a stormwater master plan, and every few years, municipalities update that. So in 2024, there was a stormwater master plan update done. It's on our website. It's public information. I think the important thing to remember is that Wheeler, the Westmount area, currently drains through Wheeler into a culvert where the new storm pond is proposed. Strathmore Lakes drains into Strathmore Lake, and then it comes around by pipe on the north side to that same culvert. So Strathmore Lakes does not flow through Westmount. You know, there is a storm pond proposed here. Those are discussions to be had with the developer at a later stage in the project. Basically, those flows can be accommodated in a storm pond, or the developer can move our drainage around. So those are discussions to be had. But the Wheeler area performed as a 1 in 100 year storm should generally perform. It's all in the stormwater master plan. Flooding is purposeful between the curbs. So the pipes can handle a 1 in 5 year storm. Anything over a 1 in 5 year storm, it's purposeful flooding between the curbs, okay? The reason behind that is if you put the pipes in for 1 in 100, your taxes would be much higher. It's just not feasible. It's when flooding gets above the curbs that there's a problem. The model shows that the pipe is red in the Wheeler area during a 1 in 100 year storm, which means just like a traffic light, green is good, yellow is caution, red, we need to do something about that. So as an outcome of a master plan, when issues are identified, they get put into the proposed capital plan for council. So in this case, that Wheeler thing is a town issue and the town needs to deal with it. And I'm talking to our town engineer, we will be putting a capital project in the 2026 capital plan to fix that issue.
Thank you. Whoa, that was loud. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question of general nature before we begin, because in our package we have both the 2010 application and we have the amendments on the 2025. So I'm wondering if you're okay if I ask questions addressing both. Is that all right? So my first question is just one that was addressed to me that I didn't want to answer. It came from the public, and so because it's a public hearing, better to address it here. And that was on page 6 of 274, where they talk about land use and subdivision applications typically requiring approval of the Municipal Planning Commission. My question, or the question that came to me was, so not always are the land use and subdivision applications reviewed or approved by council. So the question is, under what circumstances, read the last paragraph on page 6, would the application return to the council of the day?
Can you hear? Okay. May I ask you help from my manager? And
there's a lot of people in this room. You can hear in the center here. Where's from here back to the room? We cannot hear you clearly. We understand that you have a wonderful speaker system. We would like you to turn it up, please.
Do we have that technology? I don't know if we can reach the hallway as well.
That's fine, as long as you speak closer to your mic.
Yeah.
A lot clearer.
Okay, we will ensure that people speak close to the microphone.
Thank you very much.
I can rephrase the question.
okay.
And so in rephrasing the question, I would just say, what are the chances that any changes on the land use and subdivision application that would require approval through a municipal planning commission, what are the chances that that would come to council for approval?
Thank you for the question, Your Worship. Usually a subdivision application considered by planning department, and sorry, I need help, Jamie.
Through the chair, subdivisions are approved by staff, so that would not come to council. Future phases of land use will come to council.
Thank you, that was what I was looking for. May I continue, Your Worship? I might be better just yell. On page 7 of our 274-page agenda, on bullet point 3, I just have a question. What does a revised phasing of a municipal reserve mean?
It means that in the first adopted area structure plan, it was 3 phases. Now it will be 4 phases. I say, yeah.
Thank you. And my next question is one that is theoretical, but in the 2010 application, it references that the Water Act application has now waned and they have to reapply. And we've also talked a lot in the document that you've presented before us about the anticipated donation of the land on the east side in exchange. What impact would it have if the biophysical impact studies and the Water Act studies were not approved? Could that impact what might happen on the east side?
Thank you for the question. May I transfer it to Ethan Wilson, our Manager of Infrastructure?
Thanks, Your Worship and Council. If the Water Act wasn't approved, I'm not sure that it would impact the east side in any way. The reason I say that is a separate act approval would be required over there, and if it was not approved on the west, there's a good chance that it won't be approved on the east, but I can't speak for the province on that. But at this time, there's no contemplated work east of the highway, and nothing's been discussed on an outcome if the Water Act was not approved on the west.
Thank you. My next question relates to page.
Councillor Peterson, you've
Okay.
got 3 questions, and we'll see if someone else has questions first, if that's all right.
Thank you.
Are there other questions for administration from council? I will ask one, and then we'll go to Councillor Peterson. On page 8 of 274, it talks about a public utility lot which is intended to be donated to the town of Strathmore. We don't have a future use for that, correct?
Thank you for your question, Your Worship. No, we don't have future plans right now.
Okay, but that is a donation to the town.
It will be
Potentially.
municipal reserve through the subdivision process.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to Councillor Peterson.
I'm referencing page 47.4.6. And my question is just, is the environmental site assessment that was completed in 2010, is it still relevant today?
Thank you for your question, Your Worship. Ethan, could you help me, please?
Yeah, so the environmental site assessment is still relevant. What we would do or what we will do is re-review it if there was anything in there that would be considered time sensitive or potential of expiring, i.e. things that could change over a period of time. We may ask for it to be reevaluated, but at this time and for the purposes of this hearing, that hasn't been completed yet.
Thank you. Do we have other questions from council for the administration and the presenter? Seeing and hearing none. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
And we will now proceed with our list of registered speakers. First off, we have Mike Festa from West Creek Development and Ben Lee, Arcadis Professional Services Canada Incorporated, will be speaking in favor of bylaw number 25-07. Gentlemen.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Michael Festa, and I'm a Senior Development Manager at West Creek Developments. I'm joined this evening by my colleague Jared Goldade, along with Ben Lee, Avneet Sidhu, and Amanda Polini from Arcadis, our planning consultants for this project. To begin, I would like to thank the Town of Strathmore and Council for your time and engagement on this initiative. We are here tonight to respectfully request your support for the proposed ASB amendments to facilitate what we believe is an exciting new land development project in the heart of Strathmore. Something about West Creek here is West Creek Developments was founded in 1997 and has grown to become a respected developer of vibrant, complete residential communities. To date, we've developed over approximately 2,200 acres of land, resulting in over 15,000 homes. We successfully delivered 9 communities across southern Alberta and actively working on 8 more, including the proposed subdivision within the town of Strathmore. West Creek initially brought this land forward in 2008. However, due to the shifting market conditions in recent years, we were unable to proceed at that time. Now, as the efforts of this and previous council begin to take shape, we believe there's a renewed and growing interest in the, living in Strathmore.
The ASP amendments we are presenting today are refinements to the existing 2010 approved ASP. The vision and intent of the ASP remains unchanged and is consistent with the town's MDP objectives, featuring a connected and efficient road network with primary access to Wheatland Trail and a new east-west road on the north that will provide a future connection to the wildflower development. This community will accommodate a diverse range of housing choices to help meet the town's immediate housing needs. The key refinements to the proposed ASP amendment include the following. They are listed on the map on the slide above as A, B, C, and D. So firstly, A, we propose a slight increase to the residential density from about 6.5 units per acre to a flexible range of 6 to 7.5 UPA. This adjustment allows for direct control land use districts, which will support housing affordability and a variety of build forms. We feel that this adjustment can meet those demands while still respecting the existing housing character in Strathmore. Detailed land use considerations will be addressed further during the public hearing for the Phase 1 land use amendment, which will be brought to council later this year. B on the map identifies the linear MR and utility integration. The plan amendment now includes integration of the existing ATCO gas line into a right-of-way dedicated within a linear municipal reserve to enhance the community connectivity and park access space. C, a 4.57 acre storm pond is proposed in the southeast corner. The facility will manage all stormwater and filter stormwater before reaching the eastern wetlands. The future storm pond will provide habitat and serve as an amenity for nearby residents. D, at the request of the town, a 2.87 acre site has been reserved in the northeast quadrant for emergency services. Its strategic location ensures quick emergency response times via Wheatland Trail and the future North Boundary Road. In March 2025, West Creek and Arcadis launched a public engagement campaign to share our vision and collect feedback on the ASP amendment, the land use amendment, and revised concept plan. Key components of the engagement included a newsletter notice published in the Strathmore Times on March 19th, postcard invitations to residents within a 200-meter radius of the site, and a well-attended public open house on March 27th. Based on the community input, we made following revisions, which will be added in subsequent phases of the land use and subdivision applications. These are identified on the map above as 1, 2, and 3, and they'll be highlighted in circles in green as I go through them. So number 1, a new parklet will be added in the southwest corner, resulting in an over-dedication of MR land. We're happy to exceed this standard as we believe this strengthens the community and integrates well with the neighborhood area. Number 2, in response to concerns about compatibility with existing homes, we will revise zoning adjacent to the southern boundary, changing from the planned DCR1S to DCR1 to ensure the alignment with the built form of the neighboring community. Number 3, residents in Westmont and Strathmore Lakes shared concerns about backyard flooding. In response, we will implement engineering and landscaping solutions to redirect surface water to the southeast storm pond, alleviating overland flow issues to improve the current site conditions. I'll now hand it back over to Mike.
So, next slide, please. So, from our open house, we clearly heard from the residents that the west side wetlands are valued, and we'd like to provide some important context regarding their status and our approach toward them. To be clear, our current ASP amendment does not alter the development plan for the wetlands. West Creek had received Water Act approval from Alberta Environment in 2010 to remove the wetlands, with 3 approved extensions in 2013, 2015, and 2018. While construction was delayed, we are now re-engaging with Alberta Environment and will be submitting a revised application in full compliance with current provincial regulations. West Creek remains fully committed to adhering to Alberta Environment guidelines as we pursue an updated Water Act approval. We understand that the West Wetlands provide seasonal habitat for a variety of bird species. To support ongoing habitat needs, the proposed storm pond in the southeast quadrant will be designed to offer an alternative sanctuary while also serving stormwater management and community and amenity functions. The removal of the west wetlands is necessary to facilitate the completion of the north boundary road, an essential connection into wildflower development. This road will enable continuous traffic flow from Wheatland Trail and improve emergency response times for residents in West Strathmore. As part of our long-term commitment to ecological stewardship, West Creek will continue its previous plan to donate approximately 65.78 acres of wetland and municipal reserve lands east of Wheatland Trail to the town of Strathmore. These lands will remain protected in perpetuity, offering both environmental value and passive recreational opportunities for the community. Furthermore, West Creek is committed to partnering with the town of Strathmore and Ducks Unlimited or other agencies to naturalize and steward the eastern wetlands area, ensuring it continues to provide a vital habitat for native species and contribute meaningfully to the town's green space network. Next slide. To conclude, we are excited about the opportunity we bring this community to life in central Strathmore. We respectfully request council's support for the proposed updates to the area structural plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll now go to questions to West Creek. And my first one is concerning that storm pond that you're adding to replace the current one. And I think you said it needs to be removed because of a road connection to Wildflower? Is that what you had said? I wasn't sure if I heard that right.
Sorry, the north wetland?
Yes.
The wetlands within? Yes.
Yeah, that one pond so that you could have a connector road at the north end of this
Wheatland
development?
Trail into Wildflower, correct.
Okay, thank you. And could I quickly turn to administration? How many roads out of Wildflower currently exist?
Well, one, but I'll ask our infrastructure manager to answer that more
Okay,
fulsomely.
I know there are plans down the road, no pun intended. Jamie, is that you or is that Ethan? Sorry.
No problem. Thanks, Your Worship. There is currently one entrance in and out of Wildflower. There is a future connection plan to the north, and then there is a future connection plan to the east, which is the road that was discussed here tonight. Other than that, it would depend on adjacent development in other directions.
Okay, thank you. The second question tied into that storm pond is, I know you talked about it becoming, is your plan for that new storm pond you're creating, and I believe you said it was 4.5 acres? Is that to become a more naturalized wetland versus a recreational style storm pond? I know they evolve as time and years go on as well.
Yeah, the plan is, the goal of that is to be a stormwater retention to deal with the storm drainage from the community. In the past, we've worked on storm ponds where we were able to create a more naturalized environment. And then to answer your question, there's zero plan for a recreational aspect to this. It's not a swimming or anything like that. It would be an active stormwater drainage system, and water would be flowing through that.
Okay, thank you. And my third question, which has kind of two components to it. I know for years, many of us, I know I did, I thought of the Grays Park, that wetland area, as being continuous all the way south to Strathmore Mews and close to where the library is. But who currently owns that southern section of that marshy wetland style area?
That would be the developer, West Strathmore Developments.
Okay, thank you. So part of this commitment of West Creek is to turn over that area to the town for town ownership, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. As part of our updated Water Act approval, where we would be removing the wetlands on the west side of Wheatland Trail, we would be turning over the wetlands on the east side of Wheatland Trail, as well as any of the residual land that is there, to the town in perpetuity to, we would assume extend Grays Park and continue to leave that as a steward for the land.
And to CAO Scoble, could that then become a sanctuary type piece of property, improving and expanding that wetland area?
Well, certainly. I mean, like it could be a conservation and interpretive area. A sanctuary is more of a designation. It would never meet the threshold for a federal sanctuary, but that doesn't stop council from creating a municipal sanctuary if it so wanted. But that's a name. I think it's more important the concept of what the town wants to do with it. Do you want to enhance the wetlands there? Do you want to create an interpretive area for residents? You know, that's all up to council.
Thank you. And then my final thing on that is your West Creek company willing to do a formalized commitment to the town for that transfer land as soon as possible, so that everyone in the town who has concerns about wetlands and has a deep care for them would see that it's, to lack of a better word, it's papered and it's official and it will be town property to improve those wetlands?
Yeah, absolutely. In conjunction with the ASP amendment and our subdivision, we would absolutely turn that over with the very first phase. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll now turn to Councillor Wiley and then Councillor Peterson.
Mine is just going down the same avenue that Mayor Field just did, and I was wondering if we could go back to the map on the PowerPoint. Just like the one that includes the Eastlands as well, if possible.
Page 19.
I have an air photo.
I think you just passed it, actually. There it is.
Oh, sorry, this one?
There it is.
Oh, this one.
That'll do. This is just for people at home and people in the gallery. So if you can find Wheatland Trail on the map, on the east side is what we all think of as Gray's Park, and we see it, and it's this huge, beautiful area of wetlands. And what was not known to me is that entire south area, which in actuality is more acres than the Gray's Park exists right now, is going to be donated to us by West Creek developer. So while I have you guys here, I just wondered if you could speak on that even just one more time to emphasize.
Yeah, again, to reiterate, as part of this development, as part of the, our continued development through southern Alberta in the, I'll call it maybe the Calgary area, we continue to want to be active in the communities we develop in, and it's certainly something that we're committed to turning over to the town. It's certainly something that we see as a long-term benefit to the town of Strathmore and its current and future residents.
And so that is, I believe I heard, over 70 acres of land that's going to become part of this extended Gray's Park wetlands.
65.78, yeah.
Perfect. My next question is about the stormwater management. You guys have already spoken on that, but I know that a number of individuals tonight that are going to be talking are very concerned about the problems with water in the existing Wheeler and Westmount. Now, I understand that is administrative, that's on our end, but I'm just wondering if you want to talk about your end and what you're planning to do with stormwater once again.
Yeah, obviously, any storm that happens, we're going to get backup in the streets, as the CEO alluded to earlier. We've been active in a number of developments in Calgary and Chestermere and Airdrie prior, and one of the best and easiest ways to ensure that we don't get that backup beyond the streets is to have a stormwater management plan. This drainage of the community can go into the plan, act as an evaporation pond so that it can flow downstream into, again, the eastern lands, which at a controlled rate, and have room for the water from the streets to get into a pond system. We've worked with engineers in the past with our stormwater management to not only take in that stormwater from the streets, but to run it through a number of different systems to clean it and to ensure it's at high quality water into the downstream infrastructure. In previous times, and I would envision this as a very similar time where there is already constraints around us and some concerns around us, we've also been able to help municipalities that are dealing with some less than ideal situations, like the Wheeler lands to the south, to actually take in some of that water to ensure that it goes to the right direction, to ensure that that backup doesn't continue to happen. There's only so much we can do, and I won't claim that we can help necessarily the backup in the streets, but specifically the backyards. You know, I would claim that we can and will continue to make sure that that water goes to the right spots and doesn't go into the existing residents' houses at all.
And my third and final question is on the emergency services parcel. I don't know if people realize this, and maybe you guys do. If Strathmore was a giant circle, that is nearly the center point of our town. Can you tell us what you were thinking about when you were looking at that location as an emergency service location?
Yeah, so we've been working with the town, specifically Ethan and Chuck, in regards to the location of the emergency services facility. And we also updated our TIA, our traffic assessment, and we felt that close access and proximity onto Wheatland Trail along with the North Spine Road would allow quicker response times to residents as well. So it was a given location within our development for that.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley, and thank you for your response. I have Councillor Peterson, followed by Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
Your Worship, Deputy Mayor has not had a chance to speak yet.
Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
I just have one question for administration. If we're increasing the density on this subdivision, is there any talk that that main route to Wild Rose will go to a 4-lane versus a 2-lane, please?
Ethan, would you like to answer that, please?
Yeah, our transportation master plan already contemplates it being a 4-lane. We would likely build it as 2-lane to start, just because that's all that would be necessary at that time. But definitely the road width or the right-of-way requirements would be for a 4-lane road.
Thank you.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in the Water Act approval of 2018, had you proposed the east side wetland redevelopment at that time? So this is a new thing then for the 2025?
No, in the previous area structure plan, as well as the previously approved Water Act, we did not propose development on the east side. We continue to maintain the same plan.
Thank you. So this is a new approval process. And so it is conditional on the approval of phase 1.
Sorry.
So if you were approved by the Water Act, the transfer of the land to the town of Strathmore would be dependent naturally on the approval of phase 1.
If I understand the question correctly, yeah, in conjunction with the development process, that's when we would be dedicating the eastern lands as well as the future storm pond as well as future municipal reserve space, yes.
And you also indicated, I think, in the 2010 application that you understand the need to build outside a nesting season. I think you referenced that.
Yeah, that's would be part of the Provincial Water Act, and certainly something we are familiar with and would honor and continue.
My last question, Your Worship, is probably more for administration, and it refers to the page 53, last paragraph on page 53 and 1. It says, at the time of subdivision of phase 1, the reserve dedication for the eastern lands, according to map 8, will be implemented by the town of Strathmore. So I was just a little bit unclear whether or not that precluded partnerships. or whether it becomes our full responsibility.
Through the chair, it would become our full responsibility, but then we could discuss partnerships at any time after that.
I appreciate the clarification. Thank you. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. I have another question for you folks. A couple of the emails I received had some concerns about traffic flow and the amount of traffic flow, as well as one of the streets, which I believe is Strathmore Lakes Way. Would you be able to tell us when the West Creek subdivision is finally built out and far along, how many exits and entrances will it have? I know you have it in the package, but for people who don't know that, maybe you could turn to a map. There's a map on page 9 of 14 of your, that I've been looking at, and it might show the people the different roads coming out of your proposed potential subdivision.
Yeah, through the chair, Bentley with Arcadis, last name LAE. But you see on the map on the right, this shows sort of the main connective tissue for the plan area, and you'll see there's 4 connections in and out. 2 of them will go to the North Spine Road, as you see at the north end. That's the future connector to Wildflower that we discussed. Starts with 2 lanes and will eventually become 4. And then the one in the southwest corner will connect to the existing westbound drive. And then Strathmore Lakes is the smallest connection that will connect to the southeast. So there's 4 routes in and out of the community.
Okay, and a follow-up question, since you've answered that.
Yep.
At what phases will you see, like will there be a phase of construction where there's only one way in and out, or will there be a couple ways as you start to develop? I'm just trying to get a sense of when you'll have more than one way out, in what phase of construction, if you're going to phase that.
Yeah, the ultimate would be for phase 2. But for phase 1, if we had the entry coming in from the north, Boundary Road, come into the south, we would also implement for emergency services precautions you're required for a number of units to provide a secondary access. So we would have a temporary emergency services road dedicated to that until the ultimate is built with phase 2.
Okay, thank you for that. Yep.
Do you mind if I just expand on that?
Nope.
The emergency services site, however, and the town might be able to shed a little bit more light on this than I am, but the emergency services site would have access to Wheatland Trail. It wouldn't be backtracking through the community. I do not think that's the town's intention.
Okay, thank you for those clarification pieces. Are there more questions? Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Worship. I have just one question. In terms of the connection between Highway 817 and the North Boundary Road or the North Spine Road that's anticipated to be built, have there been any discussions or considerations on what type of intersection that might be, looking like getting in and out of the community? Are we looking at a potential roundabout? Are we looking at a four-way stop? Are we looking at a new traffic light? Have there been any discussions or considerations about that?
Yeah, I wish I could give you more details, but that's an active conversation that we're having with Ethan and his team, with our engineers. But yes, I mean, that intersection needs to be done properly for the type of traffic that's anticipated based on the TIA, and also to, again, accommodate what Jared alluded to is the access for the emergency services site.
Excellent, thank you. I understand that these things are all in process right now, so thank you for your answer.
Any further questions from council? I have one last one, and it is concerning municipal reserve. I believe you said that the municipal reserve land percentage in your proposed subdivision is higher than normal. Could you expand a bit on that?
Yes, if I may, through the chair again, typically the municipal reserve percentage is determined based on your net developable area. So we net out all the environmental reserve or the natural spaces, if you will. And then based on that figure, that denominator, you need 10% as part of the MGA. And based on that calculation that we've worked through with the administration, originally in the first ASP draft, it was about 10.17%, so slightly over than the 10. But again, through some of the conversations we had through the open house and with the allotment that we had with the park space, I mean, we had the central spine going kind of northwest to southeast, and we've lined it with a series of parks to create that serial experience. But again, a number of residents said, it feels a little bit light, so we are actually made a commitment to do it in the latter phase, and like in one of the diagrams, to add another parkette to the southwest corner. So with that additional addition to the municipal reserve, it bumps us up to 11%. So we're 1% over the requirement. So that's what the reference is coming from, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Are there any more questions from councilors? Seeing and hearing none, thank you for your presentation and your ability and willingness to answer questions. And now we will proceed with our list of registered speakers. So first we had the West Creek folks. Doug Slatnick, are you here tonight? Would you like to come to the microphone? And there's a button on the panel on the little box of the microphone system that'll turn your microphone red. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate very much having this time. I don't think I'll spend too much time, but I have one question right at the beginning before I even begin my little spiel. Can I move this down? Okay, I'll stand closer. I would like to question whether, in fact, any of the members of this council have any potential conflicts of interest associated to this process.
Administration, is that a typical question we answered? I have none. I have no problem saying I'm not tied into this at all.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. So as per the MGA, when council was to vote on this or consider this item, they all have that opportunity to declare a conflict or pecuniary interest. And so far, no councillor has declared that.
And just for clarification on that, we have a code of conduct we have to follow as a council, and we all go through fairly rigorous, I gotta say that properly, rigorous training as far as what we can and can't do as councillors. So if we do have any pecuniary interest in anything, we have to excuse ourselves from it, from any kind of discussion or vote on it. So according to Jonathan, no one on council has expressed that situation. So you can be assured that none of us are affected by that then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to just, first of all, start a little bit about my background so that I can maybe convince you that I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. I'm retired from the Alberta government for 35, I was a 35-year member with environmental protection. And during my career, which was in pretty much mostly northern Alberta, I was involved with numerous cases of interference with water and the way water is dealt with. And a lot of it was associated to highways or buildings or a number of things. But in any event, I've been involved in numerous investigations associated to the order requirements of the Water Act and its regulations. So just to let you know that during my career, I've also been involved in multiple investigations. Like I said, several of those investigations required total stop work orders, remedial action on part of the persons that did it, and a total ban or even prosecution associated to the activities. So I just feel that this situation is really a situation where there is a pile of people involved, but there's also the issue that a lot of it is, I don't know the percentage, is wetlands. And wetlands have been protected in Alberta for eons, as far as I'm concerned, and different ways to protect. Some of it is avoidable, some isn't. In this case, I have to say that the wetlands in this location can be avoided as far as disintegrating it or removing it or filling it in by other measures, I believe. And I think they should be looked at because your own town has developed a conservation plan that advises that this location is a significant wetland or environmentally significant wetland. And I just can't believe that people are prepared, people as in individuals or companies like this, are prepared to cover in a very viable wetland that your own past council members have dedicated and adopted as a comprehensive wetland conservation policy dated 2007. And in that, there's some pretty serious statements that I think we've totally missed in this situation. Just here's some of the statements. Conserve and restore wetlands, conserve and restore wetlands and riparian lands whenever feasible. It goes on and says, ensure that no net loss of wetlands are made. In this case, the wetlands, you're proposing to totally disintegrate it, fill it in, and again, against your own policy, town policy, you're prepared to do that, or it appears to be that way. And it also goes on to say to ensure setbacks on any wetlands. And again, I don't see where that's happening. And some of those wetlands that have been indicated earlier today, on the other side of the highway that is the company is prepared to turn over, if you look at it, a lot of that wetland is alkaline ridden, not freshwater like the wetlands on the west side of the road. It's alkali, a good portion of it. Wildlife does not use that kind of wetlands at all, hardly. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Many long-term residents in the area will tell you that the wetland in this proposal is also part of a continuing wetland drainage system. If you look at that wetland as it exists today, you'll see there's never any algae on it, simply because there's fresh water moving through it all the time. And locals will tell you that's always been that way. It comes from the west, down the hill, and eventually goes into Gray's Park and the other side. But it's a continuous flow of water and fresh water. And right now, I don't know how you propose to look at changing that. It's a natural occurrence. The water is going to keep moving. So I really don't think there's a feasible or a plausible way to allow that to be excavated or filled in. I can only hope that you consider saving the wetland. I think it's a very, very important key to the wildlife. Because of my past history with wildlife and stuff, I really enjoy seeing a multitude of it on those wetlands. If you went there tonight, you'd see it's full of birds coming and going, and nesting, just a multitude of activity. So I guess I just have to conclude by saying one final thing is you have to look seriously at what you're losing here in the big picture for maybe a handful of extra lots and a roadway access or whatever that could maybe be deemed or used or developed farther down the process, the land package. So having said that, I've probably missed a lot of things I was going to say, but I just wanted to make a point that it's a very important wetland, something that's not going to go away without filling in by the process of new construction. And it's one of the most pristine ones in the whole town. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speakers are Darren and Shannon Kennett via Zoom. Good evening. I think you might be muted.
Okay, am I off mute now?
Yes.
Thank you, Council, Your Worship, and Council members. So my name is Darren Kennett, and my wife Shannon there, she does not getting up to speak, so I guess I'll speak via Zoom. We've lived in Strathmore for 22 years. We've lived in no less than 20 communities across Canada and the United States, and bar none, our favorite is Strathmore. And you might say, why Strathmore? First of all, it's a small town, got a small town feel. It's spread out. It's got lots of nice little parks and green spaces. But by far and away, our favorite is the wetlands. And as Doug just mentioned ahead of me, the wildlife and the species that exist there are just absolutely second to none. If you get a chance to go out there and sit out there, watch, experience it, it's amazing. So when I studied up a little bit on this amendment, and I don't know all your different processes and what's amended, the amendment of the amendment or whatever, I don't know. When I look at it, I go, first of all, we're going to get rid of the wetlands. We're going to put 4 or 5 feet of fill on top of it. We're going to destroy something that's been around for centuries, and you'll never get it back. And I understand that we're talking about creating a little stormwater retention pond in the southeast corner. But if you're going to make that a wetlands and make the water there and the cup is already full, I don't know where your stormwater is going to go if you already have it there. So I don't understand how that's going to actually be a wetlands area for stormwater retention, because you need to leave some space for the stormwater to go to when you do have a storm. I get, the comment was, well, they're going to give us this land on the east side in lieu of that. Well, at the end of the day, you're still losing viable wetlands. You're basically going to have a roughly, and the math I can see is about a 4.5 acre stormwater retention pond, which is not wetlands. I mean, if you were the species that lived in the wetlands today, I don't think you'd want to move to beside the busiest road in town and soon to be even busier. And you're going to get rid of 30 acres of wetlands on the west side and replace it with 4.5, which is not the same. So, as Doug talked about this idea of no net loss, I don't understand it. One of the concerns I have, or a question I have, is, well, why can't we have both? Why can't we have a development and still have and preserve those wetlands? There's got to be a way that we could figure out how, and I realize there's accesses and things like that, and probably means some less lots, although we increased the number of units from 700, I think, up to over 1,000 units. So if we went back potentially to the original one, maybe there's a way to preserve some of those wetlands on the west side and make it something that's unique, something that's really special that Strathmore has that nobody else has. And so I don't know, like I said, I don't know. When I first looked at the amendment, it looked like it was lacking in green space, although it looks like they've made some adjustments to it, which I think is good, because that's something that Strathmore has going for it that a lot of other places don't. And so I'd hate to see us, lose that or not have it. So, Doug reiterated lots of different, comments about the wetlands, and I would encourage each of you to go take a look at it and study it and spend some time out there. I don't know how many of you have actually taken a lawn chair out there and experienced it. It's pretty amazing. And once you fill it in with 4 or 5 feet of topsoil and build houses or build buildings on it, it's gone forever, not only for our generation, but for future generations. And I would ask council to reconsider, what the plan is, and see if there's not a way where we could meld the two. We can still have development, we can still build housing units that are necessary, and still have the progress that way, but some way, somehow, preserve what's on the west side. I don't buy the argument that, hey, we're giving it to us on the east side. you have a net loss. You have wetlands on the east side and the west side today, and you're getting rid of, let's call a spade a spade, you're getting rid of the wetlands on the west side. That's the fact, right? You're not getting any more wetlands. So you're getting rid of it, and once you get rid of it, it's gone forever. So once again, I appreciate the time. My concern is as I stated, is there a way to preserve these wetlands? There must be some way. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we can put a man on the moon. At least we can do is figure out how to preserve some wetlands for not only our generation, but for the many generations to come. And I hope that my kids and my grandkids will be proud to call Strathmore their home in the futures to come. So without that, I don't have anything further to add. I appreciate the time, the chance to be able to state our concerns, and hope you make the right decision.
Thank you, Mr. Kennett. We turn now to Beverly Martin. Beverly Martin, are you here tonight? Beverly Martin? Okay.
Hey, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Okay, I just have a few things to say. Okay, the wetlands west of 817 and south of the golf course, sites 13, 14, and 15 have been identified as biologically significant wetlands with high species diversity. These wetlands are protected by the Strathmore Wetland Conservation Policy number 6605. And it states that the town will develop a wetland policy to conserve wetland areas where feasible and ensure no net loss that cannot be avoided or minimized. We ask that the council remember all the benefits of a wetland as per the sign provided by Ducks Unlimited. It reads, what is a wetland? Wetlands are the workhorses of the environment and serve a vital ecological role that helps maintain environmental health of the entire watershed. Wetlands provide many benefits, such as enhancing water quality, groundwater recharge, flood and drought mitigation, and helping to reduce the impacts of climate change. Please do not put housing above our environment. We all agree that Strathmore needs more housing, especially affordable housing, but we do not feel that building on top of the wetland is the right place. In the policy, it states, for the reason for conserving wetland areas, and is the overall greater public interest, as these resources play a significant role in improving water quality, quantity, reducing flooding and soil erosion, providing biodiversity, moderating climatic conditions, retaining sediments, absorbing nutrients, degrading pesticides, recharging aquifers, contributing to aesthetic urban design, and providing recreation, education, economic opportunities for current and future generations. Thank you. Please remember, our environment is more important than housing. Thank you.
Thank you. We move now to Alan Kostrowski and Ruth Byrne. Alan Kostrowski and Ruth Byrne. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, councillors, Mr. Scoble, for letting me speak. Ruth's a little nervous about doing this sort of thing, so. You've all received a letter that we submitted in your package, and hopefully you went through and read it. I'm just going to highlight a few things. There's been a lot of talk about the wetlands, so I'm not going to I'm not going to dwell on it a lot. They are important. You guys do have a policy in place, and we hope that you review it and follow it accordingly. The wetland conservation plan seemed to differ immensely from the biophysically impact study that was done. They kind of belittled the importance of this one wetland, but your study shows it as a definite wetland, so maybe you should review some of that and see why the big difference. There was no real outline plan on how to replace this wetland other than to move it to another existing wetland. So are you actually at a net zero after that? I don't know. It's just something to have a look at. I would like to more talk about the residential density. The density increase as well, they've added quite a few more homes to their proposed development from what the 2010 study was. They want to do this by basically resizing the lots, reducing the setbacks to provide more houses in the area. Your setbacks are laid out in your land use bylaw as a certain size. They're asking you as council now to put it under your direct control and circumvent the land use bylaw to allow smaller lots, higher densities. It just seems to be a backward step. I don't know if it's proper to use direct control in this aspect or not. Is it going to hinder administration in the future if you do use direct control as opposed to following the land use bylaw? That's something I don't know, so you might want to look into that. It definitely puts, the increased density will put strain on the existing infrastructure. The infrastructure plan for this development was based on the lower density in 2010. We're 2024 or 2025 now. Do those plans even exist anymore? Are they valid anymore? Do they have to be relooked at again? You're asked, increased density puts pressure on your roads. And the maintenance thereof, we talked about the feeder mains going in and out of the housing district. How's it going to affect the surrounding communities? What's it going to do for traffic patterns, pedestrian traffic? A lot of talk was put everything onto Wheatland Trail. Well, that's not more, is that a safe place for people to be walking along if you increase that? Fire protection, higher densities for the R1 and R2 housing that's being proposed. It puts a strain on your paid volunteer fire department. I was a fire department member for 12 years, and you know, you're starting to pack houses tighter. It's a little tougher to take care of it. We talked a lot about the stormwater, the 3 areas all dumping into the same location. Garbage collection was a big issue in this town just a year ago. Sewage treatment and collection, can your infrastructure handle the increased density? Potable water infrastructure. It's great. You've announced plans for upgrading the reservoir. It's required for sure. You need that storage for the volume of water in case you have a regional water disruption. So, all this really needs to be taken a good look at, kind of reviewed. We're 14 years later, so you might want to ask, let's do it again. A good example, we already talked about it, of infrastructure problems was the storm sewers in Wheeler Street, Wheeler Place. But then another example is Wheeler Place was constructed in the mid-2000s, 16 homes. We've got a fire hydrant, standard size water piping for that area. It's fed by a 4-inch pipe. That hydrant probably would not meet fire standards. We're hopeful that during the last upgrade on Willow and Wheeler, it would have been addressed, but they ended the pipe 20 or 200 feet away from the existing development. So we're still stuck with the same problem, and that's 20 years later. Will your infrastructure have the same problems with a new development like this? So I was happy to see an increase in the park sizing for the new development. Does it meet what the town requires? Now they talk about it exceeds, but that's up to you guys to decide. So these are just some of the points that we thought you should have a look at, and hopefully you can go ahead and make the proper decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Marianne Pinchbeck. Good evening, Marianne.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, I've seen major changes in Strathmore, having lived in the Westmount area for almost 50 years. Although I've got many concerns about the impact on the proposed amendment to the area, I will only address the concerns I have with the wildlife, because the others were way more fluent in discussing other concerns. I lived on Willow Drive, and 8 years ago I moved a half a block to Wheeler Place, a half a block. And I think what you're going to notice is the changes just in that half a block, because I moved closer to the wetlands. There's a small creek just outside my fence, and after I've spoken, I will pass around a picture if the Honorable Mayor will let me do that, because it shows a little creek, and it shows that the whole place is wetlands, and it gives you a different view than just looking at maps. There's a small creek just outside the fence, and it often has water running, and it frequently flows over in the heavy rains. 4 years ago, the first pelicans arrived, and they return yearly. I've never seen algae growing on that water. Wally and Linda Freeman live right beside me, and we're on the phone to each other quickly when any animal of interest appears in our yards or in the adjoining fields. I have binoculars set up looking out the north, so monitor that daily life, and I want to beat Wally to the punch. Wally just had a hip replacement, or he'd be here sharing his wisdom. 2 years ago, 2 pair of blue herons nested in the small creek close to my fence. Last year, a night heron made its home, and I had to look it up. I wasn't sure what it was. It looks like a very large owl, but longer and gray. One of the couples sat on my fence a long time watching its spouse build a nest. The same year, 2 pair of pheasants arrived, and at least 1 pair stayed through the winter and is still in the area. I think the small birds that look like quail are prairie chickens. That flock runs around, and there's usually between 4 and 12 having a good time. They've been there for 3 years. Last year was the first year I noticed that some of the swans landed in our lake, our open lake, stopping on their migration route, and a few snow geese joined them. Some birds have definite boundaries that they consider home. The variety of species of blackbirds, the red-headed, the yellow-headed, the yellowbird, the redbird, they never ever came to Willow Drive, a half a block away. I see lots of them now at Wheeler Place, a half a block. There are many more types of ducks, hawks, small birds, but I think you'll enjoy listening to this lesson about how some birds behave. My son has a house with a deck and a brown wooden railing. They built a wooden box for flowers. 3 years ago, a mallard landed in the box and made its home. That mallard has been back for 3 years, And this year it's got 9 eggs in there, and you can't see through most of the fuzz. So obviously, like people, they want to go where they're safe, comfortable, and know they can have a good home. They set up a camouflaged camera covered in burlap just to watch the progress of these little guys. Birds thrive when they feel safe and have a home. If I understand correctly, the Town of Strathmore Wetland Conservation Plan of August 05 and the Wetland Conservation Policy in 07 stress the focus on keeping wetlands. And I couldn't see a lot of green space when we were looking at the maps. Please reassess the wetland area thoroughly before continuing with this project. If it's okay, I will pass these pictures around just so you can see what the real wetlands looks like from the edge. And the importance isn't of the 6 birds I mentioned. The important part of that is it's changing. If they came in 4 years, 4 new species, where did they come from? Did somebody else cover up their wetlands? Thank you for listening to my promotion.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Claude Brown. Claude Brown is our next speaker.
Sorry, you did call me, right? Okay. A little impromptu. Did not intend to speak this evening, but I've heard so many wise things mentioned by these people in the crowd today about the wetlands. My primary concern about this development is mainly the fact that Strathmore is growing very quickly. I do know that, there's a lot of housing that's come on, and so that if this new community comes into play, we'll have 1,000 more units or properties that will be developed, about 3,000 more people added. I do have concerns about the schools and so forth that are needed to sustain that, but that aside, I've heard a lot about what the people have said in this crowd tonight, and I do also support wetlands and parks, and I do support what they're saying, although I'm not nearly as well versed as any of them are in this audience, and I'm very grateful that they shared their stories. I will share one thing that I can add to all of this, and that is preserving our small town feel is very important. And I think that, if you lived in Canmore, such as you did, Mayor Fuel, for a while, you have the mountains. If you lived on Vancouver Island, you have the ocean. And if you live on the prairies, well, you've got the prairies, but more importantly, you have the wetlands. And I think that's something that we all cherish. And to lose half of them to a development, I think is something that we should reconsider. That's all.
Thank you. And that completes our list of registered speakers. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak to bylaw number 25-07? And if you do come to the microphone, could you state and spell your name? Seeing and Jonathan?
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe a Wayne Herdman wanted to speak as well.
Right. Okay, sorry. Mr. Wayne Herdman? Okay, good evening, Mr. Herdman.
Good evening, Your Worship and fellow councilors. My name is Wayne Herdman. I'm the president of the Lions Club of Strathmore. I didn't come here tonight to talk about this bylaw, so I don't know. Are you willing to hear other issues I have besides this, or?
I think this is a public hearing just for the West Creek development.
Okay, I understand that. I put in an application to speak over a week ago, and nobody responded to me. So I just showed up assuming that I would be allowed to.
Oh, okay, so you had a different topic you wanted to speak on at a council meeting?
Yes.
Okay, right now we're in the official public hearing. Jonathan?
Thank you, Worshiping Council. So yeah, right now we're just discussing the item that's up for consideration during the public hearing. But if you want, I can come chat with you outside here and about your request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herdman. And it was nice meeting you at the Lions auction that night too.
Yes, glad you helped out.
Thank you. At this time, administration, do you have any closing comments? Is Mr. Dugdale still here, Jamie? Okay. So I think we have comments from our Director of Infrastructure, Operations and Development Services, Mr. Jamie Dugdale, who's going to provide closing comments from the administration.
Thank you through the chair. Just want to remind council and the public that this is an amendment to an existing plan that was approved, I believe, originally in 2010. So this is minor amendments to an existing area structure plan, and that's what the developer is proposing at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to touch on that topic. Are you able to flip back to a map of the 2010 ASP? Perfect. Okay, thank you. So I just want to, I guess, Mr. Dugdale, if you could, what would the development look like, or I guess what would happen if we didn't approve this amendment tonight? As far as like, what would the development look like? Would it stop the development? Would it save the wetlands?
Through the chair, as I mentioned, it's an approved ASP. From my understanding, it could proceed based on the existing ASP. Administration has been working with the developer for a number of months on these refinements to bring forward to, in our view, improve that ASP. So there is development rights on the parcel existing, so they could proceed. They'd have to maybe do some different things with the land use, but the ASP is existing and in place for development, and those wetlands would be removed and compensated for accordingly.
Thank you. And so when I look at like the existing ASP, for instance, like in the southeast corner, there's no retention pond in the 2010. So we're looking at if we didn't approve the amendment, it would look similar to the map on the left there.
Through the chair, yes. Just as a note, they'd still have to go through any engineering approvals to make that happen, but yes, it would be proceeding as based on the original ASP.
Thank you. Okay, and one final question I have, if you could, is if you could just tell me what the difference is between municipal reserved and urban reserved. Because I see both on that, like they kind of have the gray part on the east side as urban reserved.
Through the chair, municipal reserve is lands that's dedicated for town parks, sometimes around storm ponds, future school sites that become school reserve. Urban reserve is typically actually a land use district, so I'm not sure what the reference is in this ASP, but the intent is for the east lands to become municipal reserve that surrounds the wetland portions.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. Any further comments, Mr. Dugdale? Mark? No. Are there any questions of clarification from council? Councillor Wiley, then Councillor Peterson.
One resident made a reference to us going against our own setbacks. Did you want to have a chance to comment on that, either Mr. Dugdale or administration?
So the wetland conservation plan was completed in 2005. There was council, the wetland conservation policy was adopted by the council of the day in 2007. In that policy, there were recommendations to do a wetland implementation plan, and then to incorporate the wetland implementation plan, excuse me, into the land use bylaw. That never happened. So when we're looking at developments relative to the land use bylaw, the land use bylaw trumps the conservation plan.
And a second question then is, when we're talking about, one resident specifically referred to the fact the houses were going to be built closer together in a violation of our own land use bylaw. Can I get some elaboration on that?
Through the chair, the direct control district is something that we've used in past land use amendments. It's being proposed by a developer, but again, the setbacks are typically not far out of range of what we typically approve in residential subdivisions.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Any further questions from council? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing for bylaw number 25-07 at 7:33. We are now in the public meeting. For those of you who haven't, and who would want to, if you haven't been to many council meetings in the past, you are now in the public portion of the meeting. So we deal now with item 4, bylaws. 4.1, proposed West Creek Area Structure Plan Amendment Bylaw number 25-07. Kate, are you coming forward again on this one?
Sorry. Good evening, Your Worship and Council again. Thank you for hearing my presentation during the public hearing. Tonight we are recommending the second and third reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Are there questions for Kate further to the public hearing? Again, for those of you who haven't been to public meetings before, haven't watched one, typically in something like this, before we can discuss and debate, we have to put a motion on the floor for second reading. And so I'll turn to Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. I will move that council gives second reading to bylaw number 25-07, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw number 14-11, and if I could.
Yes.
Thank you. So personally, I'll speak to my personal feelings, I guess, first, and that is...
Sorry, Jonathan, did you have to weigh in on something?
Sorry to interrupt, Council. I just wanted to say that just to correct the motion there in the skeleton minutes, we just made a correction to the bylaw was amending. So it'd be being a bylaw to amend the West Creek Area Structure Plan bylaw number 0822. My apologies for that.
Okay, thank you. So I will withdraw that motion. And I will move the council give second reading to bylaw number 25-07, being a bylaw to amend the West Creek Area Structure Plan bylaw 0822. Thank you. So personally, I take protection of park space, wetlands, natural areas very seriously. They are near and dear to me. In this particular case here, if I was I guess, yeah. So in this particular case here, like what I feel like I'm faced with is a choice between something that's going to happen regardless. This was passed 15 years ago, and we are, as it's been mentioned, we are somewhat bound. We're somewhat bound by contracts that the government or that the town signs with developers. We're bound by the deals that former councils make. So right now we have a choice between leaving the existing ASP, which I asked for that to be put up on screen so that everybody could see what the existing plan is, so if council does not make a decision to change the plan, it would go ahead as it is currently envisioned, which is without the wetlands and with no storm pond in the corner, without the enhanced green spaces. And so the choice is, do we either go with the former plan, which, as I just mentioned, has the same number of houses. So the number of units, I looked it up, the number of units in the current plan is 1,002. And the number of units in the new plan is 1,002. So it's the same number of units. It's true that the type of units are slightly different. In the existing ASP, there was a mix of R1 and then R1S and R2, and there was a total of 702. That was kind of like medium to light density, and then there was 300 single-family homes. I thought about, what effect is it going to have to increase the number of smaller units? And I personally actually believe that that's going to reduce the number of people living in the neighborhood. Most single-family homes tend to have 3 or 4 or more people living in them. So if you have 1,000 units that are mostly made up by single-family homes, you'll actually probably have more people than if you have smaller units. It's the same number of units, and it will be kind of, higher density. And so I'm faced in this situation with, do I support leaving things as they are, or is the new option, better? Does that mean that either option is ideal? That's for the individual to decide. I personally believe that the new option is a step up from what is the current option.
Sorry, we can't take comments from the crowd like that. I'm sorry, we can't have things called out from the crowd to council.
Well, so I will, thank you. I will speak about the wetlands, which, as I said, like I have, nature's very near and dear to me, and I look to protect that. And going into the future, it's going to be something that I would want to make sure that this and future councils is being very careful about and very forward thinking about is what effect will our decisions have on things like wetlands or developing wetlands and park space, natural space, because as I said, it's in my time on council, this is my second term, and this is not the first time that I've been faced with decisions that previous councils have made where you have to honor the agreements that were made. There's contracts, there's legal contracts, there's people that have invested, time and money into these things. I hope that the Alberta government will do their job and will do what they say that they are supposed to, what they say that that they will protect the wetlands in the way that we expect them to. And so it's the wetland aspect, unfortunately, it's not, in my view, it's not in the town council's purview. It's the Alberta government that will be deciding what happens with the wetlands and how those are going to be made up for. I agree that there's, it's hard to manufacture a natural area, and to have it be as good as an actual natural area. But with the decision I'm faced with tonight, do I stick with the current option, which I don't believe is as good as the new option, or do I support the new option, which I personally believe is slightly better? And for that reason, I am going to support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. I turn to Councillor Peterson, then Councillor Wegener.
Thank you, Worship. I know that your presence here tonight matters and that your actions have changed the processes that will drive this project forward. The open house that was held on March 27th and the voices that you brought to that place have made a difference, and it also has made a difference with regards to how this council will act in the future. And so I'm really encouraged. As you've heard tonight, this developer owns the land. The area structure plan's been approved, and there's very little that that has changed with regards to the 2010, except that the wetland that will be removed, the 17 acres, will become 66 acres of wetland on the east side. And I know that it is not the same quality of wetland, but it is something that can be manufactured into the future, and it's not ideal. But this is not a decision that this council has impact over, because it is their land, and the 2010 area structure plan approved it. And so they do have rights, as Mr. Dugdale explained. They could build today. The only difference is that if we go forward from now, because of the voice that you lent to this, we will have an opportunity to double and quadruple the size of the wetland in our community. And my hope is that with the partnerships that Mr. Dugdale talked about building, and the donation of that 66 acres of land on the south side of Grays Park, that in the next generations we will be able to educate hundreds and possibly thousands of people every year, including school children, about the importance of wetlands, the benefits and the necessities and the critical natural structures that they contribute. I believe that that there's really nothing more important in our world today than environment and financing climate resiliency. And so you've seen in this that there is a commitment from your community to do that as we move forward. And so it isn't the ideal situation, but it is a process that we can bring forward and that we can actually build into community processes that we didn't in 2005 and 2007. The author of those reports in 2005 and 2007 were written by Tom Sadler. If you've lived here for any length of time, you know the commitment that he brought to this community in terms of wetland. I've spent many hours with him talking about the importance of wetlands, and he has told me on many, many occasions that the very best thing that this community could do in terms of the wetlands that exist on both the west and the east side of Strathmore, particularly on the east side of the 817, is to make that into a conservation area that can be used to educate people into the future, so that we know that we can make a difference in terms of environment and wetland education. Because if you look from above around the community of Strathmore, as this community grows, there is a lot of wetland. And so the next area structure plan will hopefully incorporate that 2005 and 2007 report, because it was never entrenched into the land use bylaws back in the day. But the next time it comes before whatever council is sitting here next time, you have made certain that that will be a consideration, and I'm appreciative of that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Wegener.
I just want to thank everybody that came out tonight to talk. I learned a lot from listening to you people tonight, and I think Councillor Montgomery said it very well, that it's one of these things that it's already been in place. It was in place since 2010. All we're doing is voting on the amendment to this, which to me looks better than the original plan, having the storm pond in there. We do need more housing in town, and I live up in that area as well. I like the wildlife and that, but hopefully it will come back. Hopefully the wildlife will come back, and again, it's one of these things.
Sorry, we're not going to allow anything called out from the gallery, and I should tell you, if you don't know, that the Municipal Government Act allows me to have anyone removed that's disturbing this process. Thank you. We'll carry on with the meeting.
So as I was saying, hopefully the wildlife will come back. But regardless of what happens at this this public hearing tonight, the area structure plan has been approved, and I think the amendments are better than the original structure plan. Thank you.
Any other comments from councillors? Councillor Wiley?
Yeah, I've taken my children bird watching there. It's absolutely beautiful. Our decision tonight is not whether or not we develop the wetland. I wish it was. I wish we could save the wetland and the creek that Marianne Pinchback described. I got a little choked up hearing that description. Unfortunately, that's not the decision we're making tonight. Tonight's situation is whether or not we keep the 2010 ASP as it is or approve the new one. The 2025 new ASP has an emergency service land, more park space, stormwater solutions, including a storm pond, as well as 65 acres of protected wetlands that will be with this town in perpetuity. And that is why I will be supporting this motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley. I will be supporting this motion tonight as well. I believe, as stated by Councillor Montgomery originally, this ASP could have continued through the process with no saving of that wetland pond. And I think this amendment is a better thing for this area and community. Those of you who wrote emails into us, I want you to know that I read every one, and you all had an impact because the questions I asked were trying to establish some of your concerns and see if there were answers for it. And to the West Creek developers, I felt you did a good job addressing those concerns that the residents brought forward. For those of you who are worried about traffic, there's going to be 4 entrance and exits. The move of the wetland pond, and it's not just a total destruction and there's nothing there. They will be moving it to the southeast corner. And it became clear to me that the moving of the wetland pond to the southeast corner also results in a connector road to Wildflower. And I've always been concerned that Wildflower, the entire subdivision, has only one entrance and exit right now. So for safety, for fire, that is not a good situation. That helps, this area structure plan helps with that as well. I've also been impressed with West Creek's addition of green space. They went above and beyond what has to be done, and they went beyond that. And as far as density, a town like Strathmore is going to grow. We know that we're facing growth, but we also have to keep in mind that we're in a rural agricultural area, and we need to be concerned about encroaching into farmland as well. We have annexed a great deal of land to last many, many years, but we do have to consider density to avoid spreading out into rural farmland. So for those reasons, I will be supporting this amendment. I believe it improves it for the area, and it does allow for a storm pond to become a wetland, which we might have lost totally had the original 2010 one been left. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't speak long because my co-councillors have done a good job summarizing a lot of the things that I feel, but I want to thank everyone for coming today and for taking the time to share their concerns with me and with my fellow councillors. This original area structure plan was approved in 2010 when I had first started my career as an environmental advisor in Calgary. And part of the reason I'm here now is because I wanted to be able to sit behind this desk and influence decisions to protect our natural areas and wildlife, but that's not the decision I'm facing today. Today's feedback and the feedback that I've received through your emails and your messages over time will stay with me as I consider future area structure plans coming forward to council and improvements to our municipal development plan and land use bylaws as they come forward. But tonight I will be supporting this bylaw amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Langmaid. Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I echo all my fellow councilors' comments and concerns. We all live in the same community. It's unfortunate that this is the way it's spelled out, but I will be supporting the bylaw for the amendment. Thank you.
Any further comments or discussion? We have a motion on the floor for second reading. Seeing and hearing no other comments, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We are looking for a motion for third reading. Councillor Wegener.
I move that council give third reading to bylaw number 2507, being a bylaw to amend the West Creek Area Structure Plan, bylaw number 08-22.
Thank you for that motion. It's motion for third reading. All in favor? That motion is carried. This brings us to item 5, and we need a motion to go into a closed meeting, so a motion to go in camera. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that council move in camera to discuss items related to section 24(1)(b), subsection I of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act at 7:53 p.m.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are going in camera.